Little bit. I do miss you, Kevin. You were the last meal I had, though. We ate at Fatheads.
That's true. And the fact that we didn't get a picture is ridiculous.
I know, dude. I did such a bad job. Like Greg Kellogg, I talked to him at length multiple times at the Expo over the weekend. Didn't get a single picture with him.
Saw him at the airport, actually. I saw him. I don't know if you remember Daigle Debro posted like Ugly John Daigle on his and
it's still on his name.
I called him out at the Expo. I go, "Is that Ugly John Daigle?" And he looks over. He's like,
"Oh, that was you?
That was me."
I thought it was Thor. Okay.
No, when he quote tweeted, he's like, "Can confirm" or whatever. That was me.
That was you. For some reason, I don't know why I thought it was Thor. Yeah, that was a long weekend. We did a lot of things. I saw a lot of people.
Yeah, and then this lady started talking to me, like the lady next to me 2 seats over. Once I actually started talking and I guess confirmed that I was alive, she talked to me like her entire life story for like an hour and a half. I'm like trying to be nice. I'm like, okay, cool, yeah, LeBron, yeah, all right. We're doing this today.
That's a
Nate.
Expo.
I'm really happy to see you get re-engaged at the Expo. That was probably the peak of my romance there,
dude. I can't tell you how many people. I had three. Oh, how many? I can't tell you. I had 3 people come up to me like, "Bro, congratulations on getting engaged. That's really cool to do it here." I'm like, I just had to laugh. Like, dude, I've been married to Jen for 14 years, man. So, thanks.
Love's still alive, baby.
Love's still alive, baby. Let's go. Matt, I'm going to update that picture with a picture of you and me at the Expo because we have plenty now.
Yeah, we do.
It's going to be way better. Us in person together. I want to shout out the chat real quick. We've got Toronto Dave Dave. I saw him as he was leaving the airport Sunday morning. I was down getting waters for Jen and I had to say hi. I had to run out, and such a good dude. It was so fun to see him. Like so many people, Jamie Prague wasn't able to make it out this year, but Jamie, thank you so much for tuning in. And yes, we just renewed our engagement vows. That's exactly what we did, Dave.
If you didn't see Toronto Dave at the Expo and you didn't like say hi or give him did you really go to the Expo?
Right. Well, last year he came for the first time, and it was just so. We've been riding together since I had like 20 followers on Twitter, and I wasn't doing any of this stuff. So I appreciate it. And Mr. Scampers, we met Mr. Scampers.
We did.
Also a blast to meet at the Expo.
And Dame Overboard, and they were amazing. This dude's beard, the days that he had it like hair tied down. Oh man, Did you guys know
one day
that Mr. Scampers was not actually a cat?
I wasn't sure.
I wasn't sure. I was like
suspicions.
I was at least like 99% sure he wasn't a cat, but it was nice to meet him.
That little doubt.
You never know.
I mean, maybe he's a shapeshifter. We don't know.
We still don't know.
Still don't know. We won't know. Yeah, it was really neat to get to interact with some of the people that simply are just fans. And like Rachel Tootsie Pop on Twitter, she got a gig writing while at the Expo. She's now writing for my old company, In Between Media, which I think is really cool. If you're someone who is just a fan of fantasy football and you're on the fence and you haven't heard about this Expo in Canton, Ohio, it's the weekend after Hall of Fame weekend. It is incredible. It's so much fun, and it's your chance to kind of interact with all of us in person. We love when you get in our chats and when you give your takes or tell us we're morons. We love that. It's what we do this for. But we would love to meet you in person, and it would just be so fun for you guys to come out next year. I think this year, what is it, Kevin? Is it like the 8th through the something or the 9th?
It will be the 9th through the 12th. So the 8th is Thursday because that's my birthday. Next year, I'll be turning 40 when I get into Canton at the Expo.
That is amazing. We're going to have to throw Kevin a birthday party. First night he gets in.
I'm getting wasted.
You are going to get 40 is a big one.
It is a big one.
40 is a big one.
It's a number that starts with 4 and ends with 0.
Yes.
Nate, it's the starting with 4 part that's the problem. Nate, where are you?
41.
Okay.
You know what? I'm going to say this, then we should probably start talking some trades, since that's mainly why people watch us, believe it or not, is for our fantasy football advice.
They don't want to know that my birthday is in 2 weeks. I think that they probably need to know where to send a present. So if you need to know where to send my present, Just get me on Twitter. I'm at FFMadJester, and I'll give it my address to pretty much anybody for any reason. But
Yes.
presents rock.
Yes, they do. So your 40s are so far has been the best decade of my life. There's something about no, dude. I'll tell you what right now.
Wait, you're 41?
I'm 41.
You don't look it, does he?
All right, so this is a small sample size show. We just have fun. We do small sample sizes if they work. So tell me about your 40s so far, Nate.
I don't care as much about so many things. Like you get in your 40s, you kind of get that like F it attitude.
This is what I'm saying. Promised. Yeah, this is what I was promised in my 30s.
Your 30s are better than your 20s, for sure.
Oh, I don't think so.
The year of
20s, in the 20s, you could get away with things that you can't get away with in your 30s. But I didn't grow up between my 20s and 30s, so I kept doing the same stuff with fucking worse and worse reactions as I got deeper into my 30s, right?
Yeah.
But at 40, why is it better at 40?
I'll tell you that Jen and I are having the most fun we have ever had in our lives, just with everything we're doing, with being in the fantasy sports industry, traveling, going to the Expo together. Like, it's just, we feel looser about life. Because it's like, look, I think in your 40s, it really hits home that, like, this is going to sound really morbid and weird, but like, you only have so much time left. And don't piss it away, because you've already pissed the first 40 years away being so worried about stuff. And you don't know if you have another 40 left. Right. So I think that mentality sets in at some point where it's like, I really, honestly, I don't know how long I have left. Like, my dad's dad died at 62. So what? That gives me 21 years. That's not enough. So I got to live it up, man.
Well, first of all, everything's a lot easier on human bodies than it was. Like, we've got more technology.
That's true.
To make you stronger, better, faster than you were before. But do you think maybe your kid getting into actual school has something to do with it, and you kind of have a little more freedom at this point versus having a toddler? No,
I think if we were younger and had this freedom, we wouldn't love it as much.
Gotcha.
To be quite honest, I think
you got to really lose it to appreciate it, and then it comes back, and you're like, wow, fresh air.
Yeah, I think so. All right, so enough postulating on life. I'm realizing that we got so into all this, I haven't even introduced our guest yet. Our guest today, folks, is Kevin Tompkins. He is from Fantasy Alarm, and he is from Lightning Round Fantasy. Kevin, it's so good to have you with us. We're stoked to have your sage dynasty advice here, because, I mean, Matt and I, we just we wing it. That's not true. We're actually very, very good at this thing. 20 dynasty leagues forces you to be in it. Kevin, how many shut up, man.
Kevin, very good. You heard it here first.
Very good.
Yeah.
Kevin, how many dynasty leagues
for those just listening, he's not just doing air quotes and lying to everybody.
To answer today's question, I am in God, I gotta count now. At least a dozen right now. They're mainly long-term ones, at least 3-4 years into it. So not really joining many new ones, kind of just enjoying the ones that I'm in now. But a lot of wide receivers drafted, a lot of running backs acquired with my teams, because I am the full-on, I will roster no running backs or very bad ones until I'm ready to compete, and then I will go ahead and get the running backs I need to win, because I just feel like the running back shelf life is so short. You gotta maximize the 1 to 2 year window while you can.
Yep, absolutely. So this first trade that we're going to talk about here, this is right up your alley then, because it sounds like something maybe you would make at some point. Because, okay, let's be honest, David Montgomery, I would call him, I mean, he's an RB2 at best, right? He's never going to be an RB1. So the trade we're looking at here for all the audio listeners, we've got Dalvin Cook in a 2024 second for David Montgomery in a 2024 third. Let's go to you first, Kevin. First of all, which side of this trade would you want to be on?
I am on the Montgomery in the 2024 third. I've got at least, I got 250, 300 best ball drafts in my pocket. So I've not drafted Dalvin Cook in one of them. The only draft I have Dalvin Cook in is one that I actually auto drafted this weekend. I am completely out on Dalvin Cook as it stands right now. Probably not a guy I will be acquiring for the rest of his career, just because he's been in a big backslide the last couple of years, especially with yards per route run. Rush over expectation percentage has gone down the last 2 years from 45 to 40 to 34% with the Vikings. And I think it kind of, to kind of dovetail that onto a completely separate topic, but still related. The fact that Alexander Mattison couldn't overtake Dalvin Cook with his worst efficiency of his career, I think kind of bodes well for why the Vikings are trying to get another running back. But back to Dalvin Cook, even, with the Breece Hall dichotomy there in New York, I think it's interesting. What is the best case of upside for Dalvin Cook in 2023? It's really the touchdowns, and it's just pure volume. Now, I can't see him getting a lot of pure volume. Connor Hughes, one of the Jets beat writers, has pretty much gone on record and said that when Breece Hall is healthy, Breece Hall is the workhorse. Dalvin Cook is not there to take touches from Breece Hall. He is there to spell him and basically take whatever's left off the table for whatever back it would have been outside of, obviously them going out and signing him, whether it was Michael Carter, Izzy Abanikanda, etc. So Dalvin Cook is not a guy I'm looking to go out and get right now. And so even a guy in a pretty good ascending offense, Dave Montgomery, where I don't think you can really pigeonhole him into what Jamal Williams did last year, because David Montgomery was pretty inefficient as a whole himself. But knowing he has a market offensive line upgrade, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to still be used, on the ground, but more as maybe just moving around the formation. We'll get some stuff out of the backfield. Montgomery has a much clearer path and a much better path to kind of being a RB2, kind of maybe that straddling the line of an RB3. But Dalvin Cook, if Breece Hall is healthy and fully into this offense, I don't see him maintaining a role based on his trajectory the last 2 years.
So I want to go back to something you said here, specifically about Dalvin Cook, and that he's not going to, you're hoping for him to score touchdowns, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Breece Hall, in his last 4 games last season, had 4 touchdowns. Breece Hall is their goal line guy, plain and simple. And he was their goal line guy in a bad offense. Imagine what he's going to be in a good Jets. Well, we're assuming he's going to be a good Jets offense, right?
Yeah.
So I don't see Dalvin Cook really being much of a factor. You would have to hope for Breece Hall to start really slow, or to maybe tweak something and miss some games, or he gets set back in camp and doesn't start the season. And it's really not looking like that's something that's going to happen. Now, Matt, I want to ask you on the other side of this trade with the picks. Do these mean anything to you? Because to some managers they do, to some managers they don't.
Let's dip back into what you were just saying. We expect these things with all things being equal, right? We expect these things as if there's no variance. If there's no variance, then yeah, I would love, it's not that I would love David Montgomery over Dalvin Cook, because in front of David Montgomery is Jahmyr Gibbs, and in front of Dalvin Cook is Breece Hall. Well, those things aren't equal currently. Currently, Jahmyr Gibbs is very, very healthy, and Breece Hall is not. Also, some things that don't show up on the paper are, do you guys remember following Aaron Rodgers for the last few years and how much he loves his Randall Cobbses and his Bakhtiaris and his Allen Lazards? And who did he just ask for? He asked for Dalvin Cook. Right. So we think that we can just it's like playing darts at a bar when you're seeing double and you're like, well, I know which one that I'm looking at is right. And you toss it, but not only do you have to see the board perfectly, you have to hit the dart perfectly. So in pretty much all these scenarios, if we're going to have a player take over another, like David Montgomery is so much better than Dalvin Cook, I will let you guys place your bet, and I'll just take the VIG every single time, because what we've forgotten in this whole discussion is that Dalvin Cook is good over the last 5 years. And also Aaron Rodgers likes him a lot. So he might try to prove that he's the guy, like he did with Lazard, like he did with, we're not sharp, these slight tweaks to the game. And you'd have to, for me to take a bet on production, means that I'd have to bet on myself to be right through a few different hoops down the way. And I just don't know if I have that kind of precision to be right on all these different variances. So first of all, on one side is Dalvin Cook in a second, and the other side is David Montgomery in a third. Well, there are micro markets between leagues. How sure are we that the second isn't getting David Montgomery on its own later in whatever micro market you're in? Maybe right now, I bet you I could send a second now and get David Montgomery in a bunch of leagues.
Yeah.
So if I can send away David Montgomery in a third for Dalvin Cook in a second, it's like I sold David Montgomery for a second, which I would love to do and just ride out the season and see how it goes, because you can always buy dying running backs who are very productive for a second throughout the season whenever you need them, right? So if I can sell David Montgomery in a second, and the other half of that trade is that I'm giving a third for Dalvin Cook, of course I'm going to take the Dalvin Cook side. I'll always take the more sure cash later if I need running backs to compete, because you can always cash in for a better running back down the season with a second is worth way more than a third, way more. So if I can ride the season,
in my opinion,
thirds are worthless. So if I can start the season with Dalvin Cook instead of David Montgomery and also have a second in my arsenal to use later when I need to, instead of starting with David Montgomery and hoping he beats out a healthier Jahmyr Gibbs when the quarterback is not, there's so many reasons to take that second on top of Dalvin Cook for me. Easily in this trade.
I suppose here's how I'd sway it, because right now we're talking about win now trades. Dalvin Cook is probably a guy that could help you win now. He's also 3 years older than David Montgomery.
Yep.
So if you're looking into the future 2 to 3 years, David Montgomery is still going to be relevant when Dalvin Cook's probably out of the league, because we know what happens to running backs. The concern I have with Dalvin Cook, and I understand Aaron Rodgers is like, I want this guy, so I'm going to prove he's a guy. I get that. We all know that, right? Like, he's proven that again and again and again, that he thinks he's a master roster builder, I guess.
Yeah,
he'd be so good at fantasy football. He should really start playing it, right? However,
he's the GM. He loves being the GM. He loves Nathaniel Hackett because Aaron Rodgers gets to be the head coach when he's there.
And he wants to be Tom Brady, who runs the show, right? That's what these guys all want to be.
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers as a fantasy drafter would draft running backs the first 6 rounds and then come back and take Alan Lazard. That's who Aaron Rodgers
That's what Aaron Rodgers would do. So, but what if he likes Dalvin Cook as a bit part? What if he's like, this guy has a role, but it's not a big role? Because Minnesota is in win now mode, right? The Minnesota Vikings are in win now mode. They've got Justin Jefferson, they've got Jordan Addison, they've got TJ Hawkinson, they've got Kirk Cousins under contract. As much as I don't like him as a quarterback, he's been sufficient. This is a team that can compete in the NFC. Why would you let Dalvin Cook go if you think he's a piece that can help carry you? Right?
In the
How much was he going to cost?
It doesn't matter. They could have used him this year. He was still under contract. They released him. They had him under contract.
Right.
I'm
just going to say the market's really told us what they think about. I mean, how long have we been doing this song and dance with any one of these free agent running backs? And now it so happens I'm in the air and 2 of those guys go off with Zeke Elliott and Dalvin Cook. But I mean, not only that, we've had all this time now. Breece Hall, I understand that they needed a second running back. This was going to be one of the landing spots, more than likely, for one of these running backs. But I just cannot see a world where if Breece Hall is healthy, Dalvin Cook is more than maybe 100 to maybe 150 max carry guy with some touchdown. And then you're looking at, so when the Jets do get down into the red zone, we know Aaron Rodgers loves the back shoulder fade. We know he loves and he's got Alan Lazard. He's got Randall Cobb, guys who have the rapport with Aaron Rodgers. You can add in Corey Davis too. You can obviously Garrett Wilson, Tyler Conklin. Like, there's all these guys. Like, now you're adding Dalvin Cook into the mix, and there are so many mouths to feed, especially in the red zone. I just can't see where this touchdown upside comes from with Dalvin Cook. And that is like the main play you're hoping for Dalvin Cook. If he's not going to be getting all these carries, you're hoping that, praying that he gets Jamal Williams. This offense is so efficient. They're going to be scoring a lot that he's going to walk into 10 touchdowns. And I really just don't, with the makeup of this team, I just don't see it.
It's funny that you're trying to compare Dalvin Cook thinking that he's walking into a Jamal Williams situation when
I don't think that, but that's
we're
what
literally
you're hoping for.
Bet is David Montgomery walking into a Jamal Williams situation. We're hoping that it's going to continue, you know?
Sure. I don't think. I mean, Jamal Williams had so many high value touches. There's regression with that role, absolutely. But just as a player on a player v player take, with David Montgomery being 3 years younger, with this offense ascending, and this Jets offense ride or dies on Aaron Rodgers this year. I mean, if he is Zach Wilson, if something happens to Aaron Rodgers or Aaron Rodgers keeps kind of trending downward, are we hoping that Zach Wilson is going to be able to kind of keep this offense afloat? I certainly don't think so. But, if he goes down, this offense craters. But David Montgomery, I think, still has definite outs to where if Jahmyr Gibbs is not that great in year one? What if, he's not going to get all this receiving work that we're certainly hoping for that out of the
can we play a game that's tit for tat and we go thing by thing? Because what if Jahmyr Gibbs is not that good? Okay, well, what if Breece Hall doesn't come back that quick? And sure. We can go one for one, and they're all weighted differently. And I just don't know. And when I'm so sure that I don't know, I'll take the future second, because by week 8, some teams are going to be folding and saying, I need to switch directions. And you might be able to turn,
that's a fair point.
A second and a third into a side note. I think Derrick Henry is going to he might have a slower start than we'd like through the first 5 games. He's got a really, really hard defenses coming up. So whether you're in redraft and drafting and trying to get Derrick Henry now, oh, damn, I did that today before I did this research.
Tennessee is not favored in the first 6 games they play this season.
Right.
Yeah,
so Derrick Henry,
Henry.
So a few years ago, Aaron Jones had just a murderer's row for the first 4 games. And my idea was, okay, well, don't draft him, but you'll get him after game 4 at probably a 2-round draft difference. And you could do that. So this year, the player to think about starting off hot and then getting them from getting players from people who are a little bit desperate around game 5, that would probably be a good time to go inquire about Derrick Henry. So you're not going to be able to get Derrick Henry if you gave away Dalvin Cook and a second for David Montgomery and a third, you have no pieces that you could use to build up to Derrick Henry. There's no way that's happening. Sure. But if you give away David Montgomery and a 24th third and you get Dalvin Cook in a second, you can use Dalvin Cook for the first 3 games and see how Breece Hall does, and then possibly pawn him off for, let's say he's terrible. You're still getting a third for him pretty easily. So let's say you want to get rid of him after game 4 because you've used him as much as you can, and then you have that second that you acquired the trade. You get rid of Dalvin Cook for 2/3 minimum. Let's be honest. You can turn around if you feel better about Derrick Henry. You have a little bit of foresight about what his schedule is going to look like, and his fantasy playoff schedule is ridiculously easy. That dude
Texas
might
twice, baby.
Freaking 25 points a game for the entire thing. He might be the most memorable player. And if that's the case, so let's say you flip Dalvin Cook in that trade for 2/3. Now you got the second, you got the 2/3. You can go get Derrick Henry, who's not starting off hot. You can use him down the stretch, possibly win a championship, and people remember what they feel. As much as we like to think we're just cold machines who are really good at Dynasty, we're not. So people are going to remember that, and they're going to say, I'd buy Derrick Henry for 2 seconds next offseason if everything goes according to plan, which is a lot of needles to thread, but there's also a lot of outs. So they might buy him. So you might have ended up with selling David Montgomery in a third for using Derrick Henry for the last 12 games of the year, and then switch it back to 2 seconds. So I'd take 2 seconds over David Montgomery in a third. So we're just winning production now in then. So there's more freedom if you get rid of if you have a second period.
So I've got to get this comment out there because it made me chuckle when I saw it come in from Mr. Scampers here in the chat. Mercedes Lewis in the 6th. Yes, I'm Aaron Rodgers. Dude, has Mercedes Lewis been around for the longest of anyone you can possibly think of outside of George Blanda and Frank Gore?
He's older than my dad.
Udonis Haslem of the NFL.
Yeah, right. God, that guy's so old. Still didn't get his ring. Well, he got a ring earlier in his career. This is not a basketball show, Kevin. Stop it.
It is not, and I'm not a basketball guy.
Me either. All right, so let's go to our second trade here, 25 minutes in. 2025 second for Ezekiel Elliott straight up. Matthew Chester, what do you think of this trade?
I think you better know that when you're giving away the 25 second, because your opponent's going to know when you're giving away the 25 second, that second is going to be made better because your team was not made better long run. So you're giving up a better second than a random second for taking on an old dying player. Also, it depends on what kind of size league you're in. Because if you're in one of these start 3 wide receivers, start 3 flexes, or even anything close to that, I don't remember where I was going with this. It was a long weekend at Canton, guys. I'm still recovering.
Oh no, we're all recovering.
Okay,
Kevin and I were talking about this before you came on. Like we're still not right.
Yeah, I'm upside down, guys. I'm so tired.
I would be. If you had to put me on the injured list right now, I'd be questionable. I mean, I'd get there for week 1, but I mean, I'm limited practice.
There's no
old,
red
man.
zones. No red zones, but the entire body's orange. Right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. My thing with this trade is simply that I want the second. I don't want Ezekiel Elliott. Plain and simple. I don't want Zeke. I don't think there's much value for him in New England. And I know people are freaking out about, oh my God, this kills Rhamondre. No, it doesn't. Rhamondre Stevenson is the guy in New England. Ezekiel Elliott might get a little bit of goal line work, but you know what Rhamondre is still going to get all the passing work out of that backfield. He's still going to get the majority of the carries, even in the red zone. Zeke's there to spell him. And look what Tony Pollard was running back 8 last season with Zeke on the roster and healthy all season.
Zeke's going to get all the stuff that wouldn't go to Rhamondre anyway, and he's going to do it much worse than Pierre Strong or Kevin Harris could ever, or anybody else that could have acquired ever could. Like, if anything, getting rid of the crap and pushing that on Zeke Elliott is going to, I mean, I'm drafting Rhamondre everywhere I can, but he might even go up as wild as that sounds.
No, it doesn't sound wild. Like I said this the other day, Zeke is not an indictment on Rhamondre Stevenson. This is an indictment on Kevin Harris and Pierre Strong. Right. They don't trust them to take the junk on a consistent basis.
Yeah, it's puzzling. It really is when you're looking at how they're, I think PFF posted the roster page and the Pat's going all in on 2023. It's Mac Jones, Zeke Elliott, Devontae Parker. What are we doing here? Zeke Elliott's his rush, opportunity over expectation. It's gone down the last 2 years. His yards per route run absolutely cratered last year. In ESPN, their open score and their yak score, and with their receiver ratings, with carries over 100 carries, Zeke was dead last year. He was RB 45. So I don't know if it's an emotional thing or what. Mac Jones had a glowing recommendation of Zeke when he went out to dinner with him and sat on the same side as him. But I just don't get it. Give me the second all day, every day. I know I just talked about Dalvin Cook and how terrible I think he is, but I would take Dalvin Cook in a heartbeat over Zeke Elliott right now.
I would too. All right, so we're going to move on to our next one here. Keep this train rolling. This is an interesting one because a lot of people are really split on this player. We've got a 2024 second and a 2024 third for Brandon Ayuk. Chester?
There's nothing to talk about with this trade. You take Ayuk every time.
Yep.
100 times out of 100, no matter what your situation is, there's nothing else to say.
Okay.
Kevin,
you with us, Kevin?
100%.
Next one. This one I put in here just because it's weird, and I don't really know what to do with it. We kind of looked at it before the show. Kenny Pickett straight up for a 2026 first round pick. Now, it's a first round pick, but it's a 2026 first round pick. Is this Kenny Pickett for Archie Manning? Is that what we're looking at here? An 8th grader?
Whoa.
Would you, in any scenario, accept a trade that involved the 2026 pick? Either of you?
I mean, certainly context dependent, but I mean, probably not.
Would it tip the needle for you on a trade?
It's not like I have no tiebreakers for 2026 picks. I will say that.
No. All right, so now we're going to move on to one that's real.
Does it have to be for Kenny Pickett? Does it have to be for Kenny Pickett, or what was the question?
No, I'm just asking, would you accept a 2026 pick, and would it move the needle for you on any trade?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. If you need a little bit more, if I need to make a roster spot and there's somebody that I don't like, all right, David Montgomery for 26 first. Yeah, I would do that. It doesn't matter what my roster build is. I would do that.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
And Jamie's right in the chat. The league might not even last that long.
Right. Exactly. we don't even know who's going to be alive on Sunday, according to Shanahan.
What are you doing, weirdo traders? We don't know. And that's a good point. Like, what if the league dies? You still have future cash to use. Picks are just cash. Sure. You're right.
It's another form of currency.
Yeah. Like Bitcoin and Dogecoin and all that fun stuff.
Monopoly dollars and
yeah. All right, so let's get to our next trade here. We've got Derrick Henry and Mr. Jerry Jeudy for a 2024 second, for Gabe Davis, Darnell Mooney, and a 2024 first. So the way I'm looking at this trade, first, I'll just throw it out here. I want the Henry Jeudy 24 second because I don't like Gabe Davis. Stop it with the Gabe Davis hype.
This hurts 2022 Kevin so bad with the Gabe Davis stuff, but look,
were you a truther? Well,
I was a truther, and I was drafting him at ADP. But you know what? Who else were you drafted at ADP? Allen Robinson?
Yeah, I was.
Like, of all like that ADP,
Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs, who else?
In this economy?
In this economy.
Look, no, I'm about zero RB guys. What are we doing?
Not taking Javonte Williams. That's what we were doing.
So
falling on that sword.
He looks so good in camp, though. Like in person.
And also where Gabe Davis was going last year. If that's where you can get Javonte Williams this year, I'm doing that.
Where we're getting. That's where we're getting like Debo this year.
Yep. Which is fair because nice. I don't think Debo's going to be all that this year. I think I like him, but I don't care for his price. Still.
I love him at Gabe Dave prices.
Look, the Bills are trying to right now, they went out and got Dalton Kincaid. They're trying to figure out who's going to be the second target in their offense. Like, clearly they went out and got Dalton Kincaid because that Gabe Davis didn't work out. They, certainly have other guys. They have Khalil Shakir. They let Isaiah McKenzie go. Like, they are basically holding open tryouts right now for wide receiver 2 in Buffalo. Gabe Davis, he's finally healthy now, but I still don't, with his profile, the long A dot, like they want a target earner. Dalton Kincaid can be that. If he works out, Gabe Davis is pretty much toast. All he is like fancy Matt Collins. Darnell Mooney, I mean, it really hinges on Justin Fields.
100%.
So, I mean, I'm assuming obviously this is the win now. So Derrick Henry, Jerry Jeudy, 100% and a second. Like,
yep.
Wrap that up.
And dude, Jerry Jeudy, like everybody wants to say, oh, blah, blah, he's in Denver offense. We don't even know if Russell Wilson's going to be good. From week 14 through week 18 last season, Jerry Jeudy was wide receiver 3. So you can stop it with that. They got rid of Hackett. They fixed the offense. Without Nathaniel Hackett, they ran an actual offense that worked. They almost beat the Chiefs twice in that span.
The adults are in the room now. Like, they got rid of the kids, Nate Hackett and all that. Trust me. I since he was at Syracuse, I've been watching Nathaniel Hackett run mediocre offenses. So, I'm definitely in on Jeudy this year as far as at ADP. When I'm looking at those guys, that go in like the Keenan Allen, Deebo Samuel range, like after that, Jerry Judy's usually the first click I make. So being able to get him and Derrick Henry in a second for like a 2024 first, Mooney and Davis, sign me up.
Yep. No, I'm with you there. All right, let's move on to this one here. We've got Jonathan Taylor, Mike Evans, and Juju Smith-Schuster for Ezekiel Elliott and CeeDee Lamb.
They just did that to hurt your feelings, didn't they?
They must have. I mean, it doesn't hurt my feelings, but I'm offended.
Well,
Definitely offended.
So sometimes there's this weird like human brain quirk that you can find, and when that happens, you got to completely utilize it. And for some people, Zeke Elliott has negative value right now, to where if you wanted to give away Jonathan Taylor, Mike Evans, and Juju for just CeeDee Lamb, Jonathan Taylor, Mike Evans, and Juju for just CeeDee Lamb, I don't know if you get that done.
Yeah.
No.
But if you give away Jonathan Taylor, Mike Evans, and Juju for CeeDee Lamb, and they get to get rid of Zeke, people are weird. And sometimes when this happens, Zeke Elliott will make a trade happen because they're giving him negative value. And so when they see CeeDee Lamb leaving for those 3 players, they're like, I don't like that. And they're like, oh, but I do get to get rid of Zeke Elliott, and that's worth something. But it's weird, and it's worth negative amount. So that's what it sounds like. And the way we talked about it, you were so disgusted by Zeke that I feel like that might be you.
Well, no, I don't want. Look, here's the thing. I like CeeDee Lamb as a talent. All right. I think we can all agree the dude is ultra talented. He's in an offense that has a coach that doesn't want to throw the ball as often as they need to throw it to make CeeDee Lamb worth this trade for me.
I think that's a myth.
It's not a myth. It's not a myth at all.
Be.
Did you hear what Mike McCarthy said after they fired Kellen Moore? He said, this kid's a great kid. He's a great offensive coordinator, but all he wants to do is throw the ball, and that's not how we run the offense here. We keep the ball on the ground, and we control the clock. That's how Dallas runs their offense.
But they're still going to throw the ball 600 at least times.
You really think so? Yeah, that's a fair point. I guess that is a fair point.
Like we discount like the run rate. You know, we look at the run rates and we think they literally never run the ball. Like what the Falcons and the Bears did last year was historic as far as just completely doing away,
not throwing the ball.
Not since I think the 09 Jets have offenses run more than the Bears and Falcons did last year. Kind of an anomaly. They're likely to come close to doing that this year as well. But I mean, I know Dallas is like in that bottom quarter as well, but just because they're in the bottom quarter, it sounds bad, but that means they're still going to pass the ball 620 times in today's NFL. So, you know, if you can still carve out 28 to 32% of the target share, which I think CeeDee Lamb definitely has that.
I think you're right.
With Dalton Schultz not there, I mean, it's an efficiency bet on CeeDee Lamb. I mean, it's shifted from more, you know, what we looked at with Dallas the last couple of years, where it was heavy volume, to now more efficiency with the Dallas offense, and knowing that this is going to be going through CeeDee Lamb. Cooks is going to get his.
Right.
Yeah, so that's where I am with Lamb, and I will take the Lamb side just because that talent is so massive, and the fact that people really, I mean, the whole Dallas is not going to run the ball. I don't really subscribe to that. I think there's still going to be efficiency. Like if CeeDee Lamb was in, obviously we know Drake London, we're worried about what kind of, he's going to get a 25 to 27 cent per target share, but what does that really mean when you throw the ball 510 times?
Sure. Here, I guess this would be my concern. Well, 2 concerns. 1, can Dak stay healthy? Yeah. Is that line going to be healthy enough to protect him so he has time to throw the ball?
Right.
And 2, like, have we ever really been that impressed with Dak Prescott's accuracy? He's all right, but he throws the ball a lot. I mean, he's never thrown 600 times. His 596 twice. He did that in 21, then he did it again in 2019. Those seasons, he was QB2 and QB8, but otherwise, they don't ask him to do it that often. So
what I heard from that is QB2 and QB8.
Yeah, 3 and 5 years ago.
If the variance is a slight bit in the offense or the slight bit in the passing volume, we know it's there. He still has CeeDee Lamb. Now he has Brandon Cooks as well that he pulled over from Houston. I don't know. I think Dak is very, very slept on this year. Very slept on.
See, I felt that way, and then I don't know. My gut is telling me this season I don't like Dak. I don't like that Cowboys offense really, outside of really Tony Pollard.
What I will say is that the one kind of fly in the ointment with Dallas, I think we haven't talked about it, is Brian Schottenheimer is now the OC.
Yeah,
so now that we're talking about a guy who has never quarterbacked an offense that has been top 16 in yards, over top 15 in yards, I should say, never been above in the top 12 through all his years, 12 years as an offensive coordinator in the NFL, never been top 12 in passing attempts. But the last 3 years with Seattle has been the 5th best as far as touchdowns, 4th and 3rd. So this is the complete 100% efficiency bet. We are hoping that even in a low passing volume offense, that CeeDee Lamb is going to be getting 28 to 32% of the target share and still being efficient enough to score the touchdowns, which are going to boost him to be into that top 5 mix among wide receivers. So I'm still 100% on CeeDee Lamb. I think that's still a great case. I'm still willing to bet on the efficiency.
Let me ask you this, Kevin. Juju and Zeke, it's pretty much just whatever your team needs. It's a fair trade, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you need 100 targets, you're probably good with Juju. I mean, Juju, the kind of ship has sailed a little bit on him. I mean, obviously we're not getting anything close to what he did alongside Antonio Brown, but
either
for what he is as a slot guy, he's fine.
Either one of those guys you're pretty happy to sell for a second, even if you have to include a third. Yeah. Like they're just not great. So I just wanted to break down this trade that we have in front of us. So that would just leave Jonathan Taylor and Mike Evans or CeeDee Lamb. And in Dynasty, I think CeeDee Lamb's an easy answer. That's where it comes to me.
Fair enough. We agree to disagree, but that's what's fun about this, right? So now here's another straight up one. Michael Pittman for Rachaad White. If I need a running back, I'm going to make this trade. 100% I'm going to make this trade because you're looking at the guy who's probably going to be the lead back in Tampa Bay. We saw how efficient he was last season. We saw how much Tom Brady trusts him. That means something, right? And you're looking at a team that's going to have one of Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask at quarterback. So they're probably going to run the ball a lot. That's really in short passes, which is great for Rachaad White. On the flip side, Michael Pittman is in an offense with Anthony Richardson, who's probably going to be the whole offense because he's probably just going to run the ball a ton. And if he's not running the ball, the guy likes to take deep shots. That's more Alec Pierce's job. Pittman's a middle of the field guy, but I think that the safety outlet in that offense becomes Jelani Woods, which I'm really high on Jelani Woods this year at cost. Kevin, am I an idiot for wanting to do this trade?
No, I really can see it's pretty even for me. I'm not the biggest Michael Pittman guy. He's clearly not what we all thought he was going to be. And when we were drafting him, like in, managed leagues season long, we were all drafting at wide receiver 14, 15, hoping he could take a step up as a wide receiver 1. Clearly, I don't think he has that in him, but he's a good number 2. I still think the Colts can find a way if Anthony Richardson, if they're going to do the AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts, the, Stephon Diggs to Josh Allen, if they want to go that route. In future years, Michael Pittman would be a good 2 for if they bring someone in as the 1. So that's where I kind of say, Michael Pittman's ceiling is kind of capped. But Rachaad White, even with the amazing college profile he has from a yards per out run standpoint, I mean, he had the 3rd highest yards per out run since 2017 as far as a college career, and that was only behind CMC and Kenyon Drake. So that's a great profile for what you're looking for, and that was why a lot of people were so high on him last year, is because Tom Brady has no problem if he trusts a guy. I mean, look, Shane Vereen, James White, all these guys he basically made into fantasy, usable fantasy guys. But Rachaad White was pretty inefficient last year in the stone worst rushing game in the NFL last year with Leonard Fournette. Now behind him is Sean Tucker, UDFA from Cuse, Chase Edmonds. It's not great behind him right now, but he's the only game in town. He's a pure volume guy, but you're really hoping he just gets some efficiency back. So, I mean, if you're kind of looking at this, where I would still take White, but I am kind of worried that Tampa goes back into the well for another running back, maybe in a year or 2.
I hear Leonard Fournette's available if they want to do it now.
I heard that, actually.
All right, Chester, what about you, man? I mean, which side of this do you want? Are you in on Rachaad White?
So I was just checking ADP on seasonal leagues, and they're roughly RB 27, wide receiver 28 right now. And in Superflex leagues, it's right around the 68 to 74 picks. I'll tell you this. I'm in about 20 leagues in Dynasty, and I don't have a single one of either of these guys because you had to have seen this coming for a while, right? Last year, you had Tom Brady and Matt Ryan starting on those two teams. And they took a rookie Rachaad White, and they had a second-year Michael Pittman. You got to say there's nothing in the future on its way for these two guys. So you should have gotten out a year ago. And I'm sorry if you're still on. But if you are still on, I think that you could probably get Rachaad White and a second if you wanted to sell Michael Pittman, just because the market is shifting more towards young wide receivers. But I don't care about these players' production. I don't want any part of them. I'm selling them both, and I'm not buying either for either.
All right. That's a harsh indictment on players I kind of like.
Sorry.
Ouchie wowie. I might be finding a new co-host after this.
Pittman might have had one of the worst. He had 99 receptions last year. It might have been the worst 99 reception season in the history of the NFL, outside of like Larry Centers.
Well, if you loved Matt Ryan last year, can I sell you rookie this year?
Yeah.
No.
Now Josh Downs was a sweetheart in the Dynasty community as well. Josh Downs had a first-round rookie pick grade from everybody until he got sent to the Colts, and now he's going to be getting passes from Anthony Richardson, which is supposed to make him terrible, right? Well, that should also translate proportionally to Michael Pittman. But now Michael Pittman also has to contend with this other dude who's supposed to be really good. There's supposed to be Chig taking a step up, that Chigozie Okonkwo that everybody's really excited about. There's really no pass catcher I can be excited about. And if you're halfway excited about any of them, then you should be very excited about Anthony Richardson, who's going to take most of the points for himself.
That's fair. Now, we've got some breaking news here for Mr. Scampers, in fact. It's just an LCL sprain for Treylon Burks. Thank goodness, indeed. That is good news. I haven't been in really on Treylon Burks, and especially now they've got DeAndre Hopkins. I'm really not in on Treylon Burks, but you hate to see these guys getting hurt. You know, you just don't want to see it.
Yeah, like I tweeted today, like the old Madden screen where you'll just simulate the preseason. Like, can we just do that, please?
I saw that one.
Yeah, I don't want any of these guys getting hurt. It was bad enough that Treylon didn't get. He's not going to be the wide receiver one. Obviously, he went out and got DeAndre Hopkins. It really results in cheaper Treylon Burks if you're really buying in on the talent. I was going to say something to Britt today, noted Arkansas resident and big Hogs fan. I didn't want to say anything to her. No, it was a tough time. So now I feel like I can actually pick up the phone and send her a text message now.
Well, good. She was our dinner mate on Sunday night at the Expo. So Britt's lovely. If you guys aren't following Britt Flynn on Twitter, at Britt_Flynn, FLINN. She is awesome. Kevin, I want to thank you so much for coming on today, man. It was a blast. We'll have to have you back on this season, man. This was a great conversation. You're a smart dude. We just appreciate having you here.
Thanks, guys. Anytime. Just let me know. I'll be on a moment's notice.
All right, guys. Make sure you are folling Kevin on
Twitter.
Hold
on, Nate. Kevin, you are a smart dude, and I would like to be more in touch with you. How can I find you?
You can find me at on Twitter, or X as the kids call it, at Tompkins II, as in the Roman numeral. Find me at Fantasy Alarm. Again, lightning round. Fantasy Football with Andrew Cooper with Britt Flynn every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern.
Yes, good times. Matthew Chester, as always, thank you for being here with me every week. Guys, we will be back on YouTube at 6 p.m. Eastern next Wednesday. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform on the Razzball Football Podcast Network. It drops every Friday. Check it out, guys. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you next week.